Just a reminder of that Strava location on Pacific Island Drive. Basically, coming down Alicia, people are going to take a right on Pacific Island Drive. If they want to do that Strava route, it's $1,000 or more to qualify to actually win the jersey or the gift certificates or gift cards. But pretty much anybody can actually do it if they want. It's just they have to fundraise over $1,000 to qualify for the prizes. Where that Pacific Island Drive comes back and meets the rest of the course is at the corner of Alicia, Crown Valley and Avion. And basically Pacific Island Drive turns into Avion, where they would just keep going straight at the intersection, and then everybody else would cross the intersection, supposedly off their bike, and then
They have to be off their bike to cross.
Yeah.
So use a crosswalk.
So go on and then taking a left at that intersection.
The thing here to know today is always call net control in case of media, emergency, protesters, blocked obstruction to the route. All of that can be handled through net control, who will contact myself and or Rich to handle anything that's needed. What we like to do is, because you guys are all leaders of this event, we'd like to arm you with the information that you need in order to handle any incidences that might happen along the route or at your rest stop or at your location. We will have incidences that happen. Typically there is anywhere between 5 and 10 transports to the hospital. It is cycling. Many of you in this room have been in spills.
What are you looking at me?
So we know how serious it can be, and so we just want to make sure that you are aware of protocol and just some helpful information that can help you throughout the weekend. To start, what you'll see when you get to the ride is that everybody is wearing a bib number. They have a bib number and they also have a number on their helmet. That is how we will refer to any rider. Every rider is assigned a specific number. So if an incident were to occur and you needed to call someone or you needed to radio into net control, you would always use the number as opposed to a name. We have in the back here, we got some videotaping going on, which is now making me self-conscious, is our what we call our SAG and MARC group, our CARES and MARC group. SAG stands for support and hear. So what you'll see is a lot of motorcycles along the route. That is our MARC group. And you'll see a lot of vehicles with signs on it that say SAG. And those two groups, and along with our ride marshals, many of you in here are also ride marshals who are cyclists, who will be keeping their eyes and ears out along the route to make sure that people are following the rules as best they can and that people are exhibiting safe behaviors, and just kind of reminding cyclists to ride single file, stop at stop signs, take out the earbuds, that kind of stuff. So that is an intricate part of the event, and it's probably roughly about 100 people that will be our eyes and ears out there. In addition, the Market Cares Group has a very complex system of communication throughout the route. They do ham operating, they're ham radio operators. And every rider will have a wristband that has the net control number. So if they were to need assistance along the route and somebody wasn't there to help them, they could call the net control number for emergencies. That goes for all ride marshals, volunteer captains. That is our central line of communication to the ride. So if any incidences were to happen along the route, you would first handle the situation, which we'll talk about in a second. But once that's handled, call it to net control, who will then disperse the information out to the people needed. I am the crisis route lead manager. Pretty much that, and our president, chapter president, Rich Israel. The two of us will be in separate vehicles along the route, positioned in ways that we can respond to any incident that may occur in a timely manner. so that we can help assist you all. So up here, this is you'll have an updated version in any at any of the start lines or sites. That will always be at the information tent. We will also have, every rest stop will have a copy of this as well, and we have a few more trainings with more volunteer captains and rest stop captains so that everybody's armed with the same information. So essentially what happens if an incident occurs along the route and you think or feel that it should have a 911 call, please do so. Please err on the side of caution. We will have an ambulance along the route as well, and there is medical personnel at every single rest stop and every single site. So they can assist you in any emergencies if you're kind of at one of those locations. If you are not at a location where there is medical personnel, we ask that you certainly assist the person who needs it. Yes?
Quickly, on the ambulances that are on the route, are they authorized to transport, or are they going to make a call for someone else?
Yeah, they are not authorized to transport.
Are or not?
They are not. So in the ambulance, if you do call that control for assistance of medical personnel that you might think, well, it's not really a 911 call, or the person, just might need some medical assistance, you can call the ambulance to come out and also assess the situation as well. And you can do that through.
A lot of it's jurisdiction.
It's been that way for forever. That's why we say call 911 if for any reason you need to. I think that when you call 911, you will have to let them know what your location is, because oftentimes if you're calling from a number that's not within that location, it might route you to a different dispatcher. So make sure that you indicate your location first so that they can transfer you to the appropriate 911 dispatcher. So first of all, if something happens and it were to obstruct traffic of other cyclists, we ask that you secure the site. If the party is injured and you shouldn't move them, or they're not movable, is to enroll the help of cyclists who might be coming by, ride marshals who might be riding by, just to keep traffic going and to make the situation safe. So you'd want to barricade around the person and have somebody direct traffic around them to kind of keep the flow of the event going so that we don't have a backup. Every single staff member, every single ride marshal, every single rest stop and medical personnel will have what we call an incident report form. So we ask that if something were to happen at your location, that you help us assist in filling out an incident report form. It's fairly easy. It's information about the rider. If the person is unconscious, simply take down the rider number, and you would make notes as to what happened in the incident if you saw it occur. If you didn't see it occur, enroll the help of the others who were around to get the information to help you fill out the form. There's a second incident form if it's a fairly severe incident and the person refuses medical attention and doesn't want to see the ambulance, or doesn't want to see the nurse, or whatever that may be. We ask that you do have them fill out a refusal of medical as well. So those two things are really helpful for us to do follow-up with the person afterwards. It's really helpful for us to figure out who their emergency contact person is so that we can call them and work on any logistics we might have. What will happen if the rider cannot continue along, a SAG vehicle will come and help transport the bike and any personal belongings that the person may have. We'll coordinate that on the back end of how to get all of that stuff to the person. And if a hospital visit is required, that will help us assist in that. And honestly, it protects us really too with lawsuits and things like that, as that's been also known to happen too. An example, we had an incident once where a woman fell off a massage table, and she refused medical assistance, and months later filed a lawsuit against the society. And so we had the refusal of medical on on file for us, so that really did help protect the integrity of the society. So it is really important, and sometimes it feels uncomfortable to ask for that, and if you're not comfortable doing that, involve the help of others to help you. I think Mike brought up a really great point last year, is if there's any head injury involved at all, you should always fill out an incident report form. So if they kind of are just stopping at a stop sign and plunk over and hit their head on the curb, sometimes they're embarrassed and, oh, no, I'm fine. Really encourage them to get the information. And if you can't, take down their number and report the incident. It's important, if an incident were to occur, we ask that you as representatives of the society keep the information confidential. Please don't be spreading personal information about any incident that might happen. As you can imagine, it starts to spread like wildfire. An example, once we were doing a bike and mess setup, and I stapled gun in my hand. And I put the staple in there, and by the time I got back to the office on Monday, it was that I'd stapled my hands together. Certainly was not was certainly not the case, and wasn't as bad as it sounded. But as you can imagine, if a family member or a friend or something, or a team member of the rider that went down here, something more serious than what it is, you can imagine the anxiety that could cause for somebody. So we do ask that you do keep it confidential. In the case of a death, which we've never had, we boast ourselves on a very safe ride. There is a protocol for that as well. But again, we ask that, and if the media were to come out for that, because it is a major incident, we ask that you contact Net Control immediately, and we'll get the right chapter representative out to come and speak to the media. Authorized in that instance would be Richard Israel, and if he absolutely could not do it, it would be myself and or Karen Hooper, who's our executive vice president, but she'll be with me. So she'll be my driver for most of the time.
Where is Rich going to be? Is he going to be at the Sheridan? Is that going to be his?
No, he'll be on route.
He'll be driving around.
So we'll be the two vehicles en route. Jenny West, which many of you know who couldn't make it here tonight, is our lead person. She'll be with the trucks, making sure everything's set up. So in instances where Rich or I couldn't get there because we're too far away, she could be a third person to respond as well. This is what the incident form looks like. It looks more intimidating than it really is. It's just some of the personal information up here on the top. And then you just check mark what the injury was. And then there's a little spot down here where you can describe the accident. You can write down witnesses who were there. And then the small little print that you're sure you cannot read is the refusal of medical. So you'd still record the incident. You'd have the person sign on the refusal of medical if they were refusing the medical. So it's all on one form, front and back. Back up to the media, we do get an awful lot of media coverage on the weekend of the event if it's a slow news week, so we always pray for that. And oftentimes they'll begin poking around sometimes and asking how many riders we have, how much money do we raise, that kind of thing. Again, we ask that you call Net Control and get the appropriate representative out there to speak to those facts, so that we don't tell 3 different news outlets 3 different things. We want to make sure that we stay reputable. Sometimes we have protesters. This has only happened once in my time here. But if we do have protesters, again, call Net Control. The thing here to know today is always call Net Control in case of media, emergency, protesters, blocked obstruction to the route. All of that can be handled through Net Control, who will contact myself and or Rich to handle. We do have children riding along the route, and you have to be 16 to ride?
12.
Only 12? Okay. And so those riders will be indicated with a red wristband. And at all times, they should have a person with them, an adult riding with them, so they're not out there riding on their own. If you do see that and you feel that there's no one with them, you might want to approach the child and see where their guardian is. If they don't have a guardian, I would call it into net control with their number and their location. If the child is lost along the route, we'll want to do the same thing. We'll want to call net control where we'll transport them to the nearest rest stop. And then what we'll do is we'll figure out who their parent is, call them and get in contact with their guardian so that they can come and meet up. But we don't want children out there, of course, riding alone on the event. I think that's probably what you guys need to know. I think that you are all leaders in this movement. You're all leaders of the event. We ask that if you see debris on the road that's in the line of traffic, we ask that you clear it off and make it safe for the riders. We are entrusting you all to help us lead the event, and so if you do see unsafe behaviors, we ask that you are bold and talk to the rider about their unsafe behaviors. They are all fundraisers, of course, so do it as tactfully as possible. We're not the police, but at the same time, little gentle reminders I think do go a long way in just spreading awareness.
If somebody becomes kind of unruly, whether it's at the rest stop, out on the route or anything, we don't expect you to actually confront them. But please at least take down their bid number so then one of us can maybe talk to them if we maybe even try to find them at the Sheridan or something to really talk to them and talk to them about the safety aspect, especially like if they're not wearing a helmet or their helmet's not strapped, or they're wearing earbuds, or they're just doing something that's really kind of giving us a bad reputation. Because especially, or if you happen to see somebody that you don't catch up to them, but you saw the bid number going through stop signs, going through stoplights, just stuff like that, because our permits are pertinent on us obeying all the rules of the road. So if people are not doing the rules of the road, people aren't going to approve our permits, which means it's a pain in the butt trying to figure out a new route. And some municipalities won't even let us come inside their borders in situations like that. So if you don't feel like you have to confront them, but just let us know so that we can kind of tell them the seriousness of whatever incident that was caught on vision. So.
We've been having an awful lot of hot weather. I haven't looked at the 10-day forecast to see where we're going to be.
Low 70s.
What's that, low 70s?
Wait,
No
you're
rain?
not trust.
I was good last year, the past 4 years ago, that was wrong.
Yeah.
Last year I was right.
Percentages aren't very good.
Prognosticators,
if it
maybe low
is-
70s.
If it is extremely hot that weekend for any reason whatsoever, encourage the cyclists to be drinking the electrolyte drink along the route. There is water and electrolyte drink at every single stop. There's nutrition at every single stop.
Make sure they drink water for Sunday morning, especially if they're hungover.
Literally all holiday.
We've all couple of them?
Sure, yes.
Oh, yeah. So we're here.
And I think this just little checklist here is actually just a really easy, good thing to remember, is the site manager will relieve volunteer, which will be you. You're not a volunteer, you'd be the site manager at this point, is to relieve any volunteers of control of the situation. Assure appropriate medical assistance by calling 911 if warranted. If not, call into net control so we can get the nearest medical personnel to you. Oversee the management of riders and vehicle traffic. Retain relations and witnesses, and complete all forms. We call that control. Any questions on that? Have I missed anything? I know that you've all heard this probably a million times if you've been with us, but I think it's always a good refresher.